Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be changing our strings on my Strat. So I've got my Strat here, and I'm working two camera angles here, so bear with me. So we're going to change strings on this. I'm using 10s, 10 to 46, and I'm going to just show you the whole process of how I change my strings. So the first thing I do, I use a power drill, okay? And if you don't have one, just use, one of these guys. So the first thing I do is I loosen my strings. And the reason I loosen my strings is there's a lot of tension that's on this neck. There's a lot of tension this way on the neck, and it's pulling, these strings are pulling the wood forward. So if I just cut them off when they're tight, I could crack the wood or damage it. So I'm just loosening them before I cut them off. Cool. Okay, so now I'm going to loosen them, and this is going to be an opportunity to clean my guitar, okay? Because once you cut those strings off, you'll be able to access all those crevices that normally you can't access when the strings are on. Typically with strings, what I do is I'll take them all nice and neat like this, and I take the backs, or the other side that I cut off, push it out the back, and I'll put everything together in a very nice and neat ball. And the reason why I do this so nice and neat is because these strings are very sharp and they can cut people. So if I just throw them away randomly, they'll be all over my floor, and people are trying to reach in the garbage and it'll cut them. So I'll just wrap this like this, and that's how I put away my strings. So now you can see my guitar, and I don't know if can you see all that dust and everything? So it shows. So I want to just clean this off like so, as best as I can, and I'm gonna clean the frets. I'm gonna clean the headstock, and usually I'll even clean off any oils. You can get some gunk here in these frets that you can clean off with some steel wool. This isn't necessarily a cleaning video, but you can just brush it down with steel wool. My frets are looking pretty good. So, there's a little, here, I'll show you a little grime. Right there on the first fret, if you can see it. I don't know if you can see it, but it's there. I'm gonna just get it. A little bit of grime. Actually, the more I start to look, the more I find it. Okay, that's enough. So now I'm going to open my strings. I use GHS boomers. These are GBL 10 to 46. That's what I use. I don't tend to like any hybrid strings. I just like the stock. So what I like to do is, on my guitars I don't have any back plates. And if you still got your back plate on, I encourage you to learn to take it off and just live without it, for this exact reason, like what we're doing today. Okay, that's stubborn pack of strings here. So with the string, if you pull it down one time like this, and if it is relatively straight, which mine is, it's a pretty good string. If you pull it down and it's all curled, if you take it and you pull it like that and it's all like still curled, that's a bad string or a cheap string or a crappy string. Don't use them. So what I do is I put on all the strings. I put it through the bridge. If you have a stop tail bridge, just put it through a stop tail bridge. It's no different, really. And I'm going to just put all 6 of them on. I'm doing number 3. Strings are something that, I mean, if you need to watch this video to learn how to change strings, then you've probably hardly ever changed your strings before. And if that's the case, I mean, if you're a beginner, maybe change your strings once a month or once every 2 months. It depends on how much you play. If you don't know the value of changing your strings and you've been playing for a while, like a couple of months, then go ahead and change your strings or get someone to change them. when you start playing new strings, you're going to enjoy the feel and the sound of new strings. And you're not going to really understand them until you start getting used to new strings. So it's kind of a catch-22. If you've never changed your strings, then try changing your strings more often and get used to the sound of newer strings. You might end up like me. At one point I was changing my strings every 3 days. But anyway, so now let's talk about getting these strings on. So I'm going to take this string from here and I'm going to pull it straight. And with my headstock, I have vintage tuners, and they look like this. I don't know if you can see it. They're vintage tuners. These are not through tuners, where they don't go through the tuner like this. I have to take some and I have to push it down in. So for me, for doing this video, I got a budget for how much I need to push down, as well as how much I have to wrap around. Part of what I need to do is wrap the string around this peg, and part of it is going to go down into the peg. So I have to budget for what's going to go down. I have to budget. Hey there, sorry to interrupt. If you want to learn how to play lead guitar, I have something for you at the end of this video for what I'm going to wrap around. So, you know, I use like 2.5 fingers basically, 2.5 fingers. So I got 2 fingers like here, and I got a thumb, and I'll pull it tight, and I'll keep it at 2.5 fingers like that. Okay. So what I'll do is I got 2.5 fingers, and then I'll put about 1 inch that I calculate are going to need to go down into the post. Okay. So I clip the string and I stick it down into the post, and I'm going to wrap it and crimp it like that. When you put on your strings, it's very important that the string goes top to bottom and outside in. That you're winding it top to bottom and outside in. I'll show you what I mean. Alright, so this string, I'm going to show you. I wound it top to bottom. I wonder if I can, maybe I can show you here. But I wound it top to bottom and outside in. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Let me show you another one. This is the 5th string. And if you have any doubt about this, just before you cut your strings off, just do your strings one at a time so that you can look at the way they used to look like and use that for reference. So again, I budget. I'm going to put more than 2.5 fingers because the strings, as they get thinner, that you can wrap more of them around the post. So now I got maybe 4 or 5 fingers for the D string. In general, guys, you want to put as much string as you possibly can on the peg. And that is why I don't particularly like locking tuners, because I like to put more string on. It gives me better resonance and better tone, and also it changes the angle that the headstock. Hold on one second. Having some technical issues here, but it changes the angle at which the string hits the nut, and that's a very important angle. Hold on. There we go. So in this B string, I'm just going to cut a couple inches off it, and the same for the E string. I put most of the whole string on. I like putting as much string as possible to give me better resonance and tuning stability. Oops, it just came right out. Here we go. Struggling here. Let me try to get this right. Plug it in. I'm going to crimp it, hold it down. There we go. Now if you have a string tree like I do, which is this little like holder thing, then just slip your string under the string tree. For the first string I put the whole string on. I'm not even going to clip it. Okay, so now that the strings are on, we're not done yet, okay? Now we're going to loosen them, we're going to tune them, and we got to stretch them out. And also we got to shake them up, and I'll show you what I mean. So now I'm just going to tune it up. Hopefully you have a tuner handy. By the way, if you've never changed your strings before and you're trying to tune your guitar and totally from scratch like I am right now, it might be very difficult. I like to take my whammy bar and just work the bar, and I take the pick and I'll play all the strings by the bridge and by the nut and behind the nut, and then I'll stretch them behind the nut like that, and then I stretch them standing upright like this. And if you do this, your guitar will stay in tune. Years ago, before I played guitar full time, I used to be a roadie, and I learned a lot of stuff on stage while I was roadieing for these rock stars, and I was like helping the main guitar techs or whatever, and I would watch them prepare the guitars, and I learned a thing or two from that time in my life, which I can share with you, which is this whole process of what I'm doing right now. Stretching out every single string multiple times. Usually I need 3 times where I stretch all 6 strings out and tune the guitar, and then shake them up again and tune it again. And if you do it 3 times, you can you're ready to just take the guitar and go on stage. The reason guitars go out of tune so much on stage is not just because they're playing hard, and it's not just because it's new strings, but it's also because those spotlights are so hot, and they're making your strings hot, and they heat them up, and then they expand when they heat up, and when they expand they go flat. And so that's another dynamic that you're commonly dealing with. But here you go, guitar set up, tuned, restrung in under 10 minutes. I would have done it faster, but I had to explain some things to you guys, so it took me a little while. And that's how I change strings. Hope that makes sense. Leave your comments below. Thanks. Hey guitar player, if you want to learn how to play lead guitar and you're a beginner, I have something for you. This is a very detailed beginner course for lead guitar playing, step by step. It's going to show you how to improvise. It's going to show you all of your pentatonic scales in the key of E minor, which is 8 positions over the span of 22 frets. You're also going to get 40 of my phrases that I'm going to teach you, and these are cool phrases. I'm also going to include the tabs of all of the phrases that I'm playing and all the positions that I'm playing. And you're going to have video of very in-depth, step-by-step explanations of how to start improvising. And more importantly, it's going to teach you how to think like a guitarist. I'm going to teach you how guitarists interact with live music and how we think. And so it's going to be very beneficial. If you get through this course, this will take you from beginner, absolute beginner, all the way to intermediate. You'll be an intermediate lead player by the end of this course. So it's very in-depth. I know that's a bold promise, but it's true, okay? You can check it out for free, do the free trial, and then go from there. Please ask me any questions that you have. I want to see you play lead guitar. You can do this. You can absolutely do this, step by step, one day at a time. We're gonna do this together. We're gonna do this at your pace. So check it out. The information's in the link below.